First of all, I want to thank everybody who's been tuning in to Tales from the Jails. Now listen, we need everybody to do something for us. If you really like what you see on Tales from the Jails, you're really interested in what you see on Tales from the Jails, we need you to go to YouTube at Tales from the Jails and become a member. Subscribe as well, but also become a member. That way you can get updated on all the new content as we continue to bring you these amazing episodes. So we want everyone to go to YouTube at Tales from the Jails and become a member.
As y'all heard him, go to YouTube at Tales from the Jails and become a member. We got an array of content that's coming out that you will be thoroughly entertained by. As you can see by the content that's previously been released, you're entertained by. It's only gonna get better. I'm telling you, there is only up to go. And we wanna thank y'all for rocking with us, man, and listening to the awareness that we're bringing about prison life. So go to where again, bro?
Go to YouTube at Tales from the Jails and become a member.
YouTube at Tales from the Jails, and please become a member.
I want to welcome everybody to another episode of Tales from the Jails. We're here live in Podrooms USA. TNS Media Group is the team and the family. I got my counterpart, Mr. Braheem Jackson. You know he's crazy out of his mind sometimes. But we got a special guest today, a real special guest, somebody we've known for decades. David Mischak. This is a guy that, we have been relying on for so many years to keep us free. Decades. A lot of the guys, yes.
Decades. He's basically a family member, for real.
Yeah, so, hey, Dave, listen, we're delighted to have you here on the podcast today. So what's going on with you? How have you been, Dave? How everything been with you?
Everything's been great. And let me say, I can't think of a better way to end this year than spending time with you guys here today.
For sure.
There's nothing for me in my practice more rewarding than, like we said, we've known each other a long time, but to see people that I've represented, see how the cases that I represent impacted their lives, and more importantly, to see the success that you guys have had with your lives,
yes,
and worked hard through adversity, developed skills, developed great futures for yourselves.
Right.
And so it's an honor to be with you guys and really to see the success that you're having. But I could say, getting to know you since you're over the years and
since we was kids. Go ahead.
Since you were kids.
Yeah, kids.
I'm not surprised. I'm
Right.
not surprised at your success.
Oh, wow. Thanks,
so
Dave.
I'm proud of you both, and looking forward to many great things ahead for you guys.
Thank you.
All right. So, Dave, thank you for that. Now, Dave, you've been, I saw that you've been, nominated for the one of the top 100 lawyers since 2010 or something like that. How long have you been in law? How long have you been in doing this?
Sure. So I finished law school in the mid-'90s, and I've been practicing in this field ever since.
Mm-hmm.
It's been it's hard to believe when you look at it that way, how long it's been,
Mhm.
because, as they say, time flies, and handling criminal cases as I do, one day bleeds into the next.
Mhm.
And so you're not really taking account of, where you are in terms of what the dates and the years. It's just one day after the next, one case after the next, and just a continual hard-working process.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's been a great journey, and I'm very fortunate.
Let me ask you a question, Dave.
Yeah, the
Not to
practice
cut you
that I
off.
have,
You
yeah.
don't want to be a judge? You ain't never think about being a DA? Sending people to jail instead of getting them out of jail? Because they say that's easier.
I'd be more interested in being a judge. It's that's something that has crossed my mind.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
I love what I do.
Right.
I'm very fortunate to be with a great law firm
Right.
that I've been with since the very beginning. We just had our 30th anniversary.
Right.
And so, I enjoy what I do every day. I enjoy who I work with.
Right.
And so, I'm not really contemplating any changes in what I do in my practice.
All right. So now you spoke about law school. What school did you graduate from?
So I went to Temple University Law School.
Oh,
Now
so
it's
you're
called the
a
James
Philly
B.
guy all
Stevens.
around.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, it was a great law school. And for what I do, their trial advocacy program is tremendous. So it gave me a little bit of a leg up as I started my practice right out of law school, being in the courtroom first
Mhm.
thing. So the education I received at Temple was invaluable.
Mm-hmm.
One of the great memories I have of my law school years, and what really drew me to being a trial lawyer and getting into the area of criminal defense, was jumping on the subway from Temple down to City Hall. Back then, the criminal cases were all tried in City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And the courtrooms in City Hall are tremendous, a lot of tradition, a lot of history. And so it was an exciting opportunity to take the subway up to City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And back then in the clerk's office, you could look up what attorneys were on trial, particularly homicide trials or any jury trials. You could see what judge, you could see who the DA was, you could see who the defense attorney or defense attorneys were. And so that added to my education. When I wasn't in class, took a break from studying, jumping on the subway, coming down and watching the great lawyers from back in those days try cases in those courtrooms. And so I became very attracted to pursuing that as my career. So that was, to me, part of the law school process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, we've known you, Dave, like I said, for decades. And, you're always the first person we call whenever someone close to us or ourselves, but we're not breaking any law now. But you were the first person that we call whenever there was an issue. So for us, and to be in this point, like you said you're proud of us, we're also happy to see where you're at in your career, Dave, because like he said, he spoke about times where we used to meet Dave at anywhere.
Man, back alleys. I'm talking about we back alleys, man, breaking it down. We were coming up with a plan how to beat the case and this, that. And I'm like, man, we was all kids, Dave too.
Uh-huh.
We was all growing up together like, dang.
And Dave had he had the Acura, right?
He had the old Acura back. And I'm like, okay, Dave, you looking real sweet in that joint right there, man. That money paid off.
Well, I'll tell you, and you're going back to just after law school, and I remember, the practice was a lot different back then.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking earlier about preliminary hearings here in Philadelphia were held out at the police districts.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me, it was a tremendous way of getting around the city and, really experiencing what was going on in different neighborhoods. And when I had to meet clients there for preliminary hearings, but though it's a lot more of an efficient process now, have everything centralized
At one spot.
in one spot. But those are some good memories of traveling around the city, meeting clients, representing them in court in neighborhoods that sometimes they lived in,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a different time, different place, but some great memories.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, Dave, I want to ask you the questions, man. We get to the point now where our city of Philadelphia is at a point, well, it's, I don't want to say it's getting better, but it's kind of like, dying down as far as all of the murders that was going on in the city. I'm assuming you guys get a lot of, influx of like people contacting you guys because of the murder rate was so high. What's your thoughts on that as far as like, dealing with this, the murder rate being so high in the city and it happened to, figure out how to deal with these things and represent these people who are being accused of these murders?
Well, so if you go to the Criminal Justice Center and see the number of preliminary hearings there are for homicides, the amount of trials there are for murders, doesn't yet reflect the drop in the homicide rate that the city's experiencing now, fortunately. But, in terms of why that may be happening, I think we have to remember back during COVID is when we saw the rates at the highest.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's when a lot of people were feeling disconnected with it because you were contained, right? You're contained in your homes. Your freedom of moving around was restricted, and a lot of people were either concerned, confused, and then tempers and frustrations, I think, blew up, so to speak, because people got frustrated. And what I also am starting to see is the rise in people dealing with complex mental health issues.
Yeah.
And a period of time, the pandemic, I think, seems to have exasperated those conditions even more so. And so what I'm starting to see is the cases of violence sometimes are connected to people that didn't have a grasp of mental health issues that they were dealing with that were heightened during the time of the pandemic. So there's probably a lot of reasons and some very good reasons why the homicide rate is down now in the city. But perhaps it's partly a product of people now not contained anymore and able to move on with their lives and move on with careers or jobs or interests that they have. And maybe things are settling down a little bit in that respect. Hopefully, it's interesting. You're going to see, I think, in courts throughout Pennsylvania, the district attorney's office of each county, the court systems in each county are going to start focusing on and having mental health courts and really trying to address people that are coming into the system that are accused of crimes, largely en route to mental health conditions that they were never really aware that they had. And so if resources can be poured into that and people can get a handle and get treated for mental health issues that they're experiencing, I think hopefully too that will reduce some of the violent crime that we see.
Yeah, because like you said, man, it was really bad around COVID, and it was terrible, and it's actually going down, and we kind of pay attention to those things because it's been at a height where a lot of people in the communities have lost loved ones, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters. A lot of people lost people that they care about due to gun violence, and ultimately, this thing that that you mentioned as far as us being compacted within the because of the COVID situation. Right. When you have people like that, and there's no money, people not making money, people are just sitting at home all day, and so forth and so on. Whatever is going on, it builds up frustration within the community, within individuals, which ultimately sometimes people lash out and had these issues. Now, when representing, is there a big difference as far as going into trial with the federal or the state? Can you just tell us the difference?
Yeah, sure. So cases that do go to trial in the federal system are usually more complex. Why? Because they're a product of an investigation that perhaps took weeks, months, or even years in some cases, as we're all aware of. And so the amount of discovery that you have to go through, that's a product of all that investigation. The resources that federal authorities put into investigations are tremendous and voluminous. And so, the cases are more complex. And so there's many more issues to wrestle with in the federal system. And this is a generalization. And sometimes you have in a case that's in state court, that may be a product of one incident that happens and the investigation that comes that is a result of that one specific incident. You're going to have a more focused set of facts to wrestle with, and usually leads to shorter trials. But like anything else, what's real important in no matter what whether it's federal court or the state court system, is just truly being aware of what the evidence is and having good communication with your clients, so that your clients are aware of not only what are the facts, what is the evidence that's involved in a case, but what are the legal issues? And that's sometimes more important because facts are facts, right? But the legal issues that exist in a case, sometimes they're complex, or sometimes there's been some recent developments in the law. And as important it is for us as the attorneys to be very aware of that and understand that, it's even more important that we communicate that with our clients so they're aware of where things are. And that way you're better prepared for handling what's coming, whether it's in a case that's being prosecuted by the federal authorities or the local authorities.
One thing that I learned about being in the feds, Dave, is that them judges over there, they really don't respect state lawyers, Dave. They like the way they like, and I'm speaking more of a down into where the people from the community could understand. Like when you come over there and you say, "Yeah, I got a David Mischak or Dennis Coleman and all them," they be like, the judges don't care about none of that. All that money, that's what it seemed like anyway. They don't care about what you spent. Brian McGonigal, Dave Mischak, we don't care about none of that. Like when you get over there, they over here like, they even said it one time when I was on trial, the lawyers over there get you off for everything over there and this and that. Blood be spilled in the street and they'll let you go home. They are bringing this up to the judges. Like the state just running amok over there. So the way they like portray themselves is like, we bigger and badder entity and we sending you to jail if you charged with this. Do you get that from like your limelight? They look down on you like, man, you a state lawyer.
What I have to say is I respectfully disagree, but I can understand why you might have that perspective.
Right.
I think it's as an attorney, you need to know where you are.
Exactly.
You need to know what venue you're in, and because at the end of what's most important is that you're representing the best interests of your client, pursuing the best interests of your client, and getting the best possible outcome for your client. And so, a lawyer has to adjust to where they are,
right,
and has to respect the courtroom that you're in, the rules that judge has for that courtroom, and be accommodating to that, because when you're advocating for your client, you want to give your client the best opportunity at success. And so, I was trained early by some very good lawyers, and you mentioned Brian McMonigal and Fortunato Perry and others that really made sure I knew very early in my career that you have a great respect for where you are, whatever county you're in, whatever forum you're in.
Okay.
Understand where you are, and that's how you're going to get the best possible outcome for your client. So I haven't had that experience. I haven't had a judge anywhere, whether it was in a federal court, another county, anywhere in Pennsylvania, that I think prejudged me because of any perception that someone may have had as to where my practice is. Because, I've tried to be as diverse as I can be in my practice. So being in federal court, handling cases in counties, handling cases in other states on occasion, and so when that happens, what's most important is to understand where you are.
Exactly.
The conviction rate in the federal courts are what is it, 99% or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because of, I know this is a question that people might say, why, but because of the cooperation, it's so much cooperation over there, or so
not
many,
even just cooperation,
or people just pleading out. Yeah.
People get scared.
Well, I think I don't know where the numbers are that tell us what precisely are the conviction rates anywhere. But I think it is fair to say that there's a higher percentage of people accused of federal crimes that do plead guilty. As I touched on before, when you think about federal cases that you hear about, that you've had either personal experiences, that loved ones have had, or friends, or people that when you look at it in that kind of totality, what you see quickly is that those are very thorough and investigations, generally speaking, with a lot of resources, a lot of technology now these days that are being used. And so before charges are brought, very rarely are they rushed, by federal authorities investigating those crimes. It's developed over a time period. It's developed over preparing substantial affidavits of probable cause in order to get access to people's phones, to listen into their conversations, to conduct certain surveillances. And so that over time, a lot of evidence can build up. And so by the time often that federal authorities bring a case before a federal grand jury and present the case to a federal grand jury, it's a product of a lot of hours and a lot of resources of hard work. And so now, it's a more developed case. And so that's perhaps a reason why there's a perception that conviction rates are higher. But listen, every case is unique into of itself, and you have to make sure you understand everything that's there before you make important decisions, not only in terms of advice from my perspective as a lawyer, but also as someone who's accused. You want to be as informed as you can be of what the evidence is, what the law is that applies, what in a federal case, what the potential sentencing guidelines that may apply to how a case could turn out, whether it's from a guilty plea or from a conviction after a trial. The more knowledgeable a person is, I think the better decisions will make.
Yeah, and a lot of people ain't knowledgeable at all. Sure. Yeah, I know you done seen that, especially when I was coming through the ringers with you. I don't know what's going on. You talking to the lawyer, I have absolutely no clue. And I'm sitting there like, well, what the hell is going on? And this was in the state.
Sure.
And I'm like, when you get over there in them feds, the words get trickier and different. The words that they're using,
that like it's you. That I like to say you have English and then you have another language when you step in that courtroom. Like the way the words they're using, that's not like the common everyday words we using. And if you don't know what you're doing and you out here breaking these laws, you're gonna get in this courtroom and they're gonna run circles around you and you ain't gonna know what happened to your life. And that's just my experience over there in the federal system.
Well,
right?
and I'll tell you, and that's, I think one of the responsibilities that we have as attorneys is respecting that.
Exactly.
And so, communication's big. I think one of the reasons why we develop good relationships that we have is because of our ability to communicate.
See, but everybody ain't like you, Dave. Everybody ain't like you. You're going to come up, you're going to let every step of the way, boom, boom. And then you'll help, not only just tell it, you'll help break it down because you can tell a person what's going on, especially when they in the judicial system. Even a regular average black kid coming from the hood or something from out of, they don't know nothing that was, I know I didn't. I had to do it 1,000 times to know. But with you there, you wasn't just, okay, all right, you got this, you got that, I'm going to see if I get, no, you're actually helping your defender, the one you protecting in court, understand everything that he's going to do, what y'all going to do, and how y'all going to proceed.
Sure.
So that's one of the things that I loved and respected about you.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things I learned early on is it's important as an attorney. Obviously, there's a lot of advice that's given, but it's also being a good listener.
Right.
When I represent someone, obviously I get a docket, right? And it's USA versus Commonwealth versus, and then my client's name, right? And the first thing that you get as an attorney is a criminal extract to see what the criminal history is of a client that you're representing. But that's just that. When I represent someone, I represent an individual, right? And everybody's different. Everyone's had different life experiences. People come from all kinds of different backgrounds. And what's important for me as an attorney to do, I've learned at a very early time in my practice, was to be a good listener.
Right.
So I understand who I'm representing, and therefore now I know what I need to share about a case and educate my client in terms of what the legal issues are, and then also be able to be prepared to present to a court or to a prosecutor, what's important about my client's background that isn't otherwise known when you look at a criminal extract, right? So it's really quickly developing a good relationship with a client that's very important because not only in terms of that improves the ability to communicate, but I can tell you it also helps with getting the best possible outcome.
Let me ask you a question, Dave. And you can speak on what you can speak on because you are an active attorney right now, and I know there's a lot of things that you can't get into about other people's cases and none of that. But from your own personal experience, and I'm quite sure you done defended since I've known you defended thousands of people. Have you ever got a case that you look and be like, this dude is a piece of shit right here, man? Like, God damn, like they be like, man, you know what? I can't take it, man. I'm gonna back off. Or like one of them joints, you be like, I'm not even gonna defend. I don't want your money. You gotta find somebody else. I'm gonna go over here.
Well, listen, everyone's human. I'll say that first. Yeah. So everyone handles things that way. But what I'll also say is, in addition to being someone who can listen, I think it's important to be non-judgmental.
Right. It's
easy to do that. You might hear about a case, you might have a first encounter with somebody, and if you're judgmental, then you're not really being fair.
Exactly.
And so, listen, there's been some difficult experiences that any lawyer has, and sometimes it's difficult when you're in handling criminal cases.
Right.
I'm meeting somebody, or someone who I've represented before, so we already have a relationship, but dealing with something that may be the most important situation in their lifetime, right? Because liberty's at stake. Sometimes entire life of liberty's at stake, and it brings the stresses out in people, and it brings frustrations to the surface. And under those difficult circumstances, sometimes that makes having effective communications more challenging. But I'll circle back and say that's why it was good that I learned early on to also be a good listener, and that includes therefore not being very quick to make judgment, and listen and understand.
I gotta say so. I got somebody on the call calling in. They don't got enough money to pay for it. That was I thought that was Alden calling, but it was somebody else that didn't have enough sufficient funds to call. But so my question to you, Dave, is, when you're dealing with a high profile case opposed to just a regular case, is there a different approach for you when dealing with a high profile cases getting a lot of media
Sure.
attention?
Well, it's you got to recognize that and understand that. But when it comes to doing the work, the way I look at it is every case is of equal importance.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether it's a high profile case that has a lot of extraneous forces at play, or a case that doesn't have any kind of media attention or level of attention, period, the goals are the same.
Mm-hmm.
And that's to get the best possible outcome. So when it is a high profile case, you have to do your level best to not let that affect what you're trying to do for your client.
Okay. Now I'm pretty sure you have won your fair share of cases and you have lost your fair share. Are you when you're hearing a guilty verdict or a not guilty verdict over the years, have you developed a sense of where you are like even killed because when you hear certain verdicts, or is it just more so, or you still sometimes be shocked by the outcome?
Well, I'll tell you the one thing about when it's a jury trial,
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the uncertainties about electing to proceed by way of a jury trial is it's 12 strangers
Mm-hmm.
that you're participating in selecting. And as much as you try your best to get to know who it is that's going to be on the 12 in the jury box, it's difficult to know for sure. And so what then happens is you can never be surprised by any outcome. Yeah, I could certainly say that there's been verdicts, whether full verdicts, partial verdicts, that are surprising, either in a good way or a disappointing way.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you try to do is, in terms of when you select a jury, is to try to understand who you're selecting to the best you can. And listen, you don't often have much time to really understand who's on that jury panel.
Yeah.
But you try to make the most of the information that you have. And then you're looking for 12 people that are going to give your client, who's the accused in the case, a fair shake.
Mm.
And if you could do that, that my experiences are you're going to have a better chance of success.
I remember a time, speaking of a jury trial, I don't know if you remember this, but I was called up for jury duty, and it was I don't know if you was representing the guy, but because they got me out of there, they told me to go home. But I remember being there, and you walking into the courtroom, and you look over at me, and you gave me this look like, what are you doing in here?
I remember that. I was in the Criminal Justice Center. I remember walking to the courtroom, not for the case. That wasn't my case. But there was other cases on the list, and I was going in to kind of check in with the court staff. And as I looked up, though, in the jury box, I saw you, and I did a double take.
Yeah.
So that was we connected eyes. That was a funny moment.
Like, what are you doing up there? Now, you Dave, like I said, you've had your share of the guilty verdicts and the not guilty verdicts. And hearing these verdicts of guilty when someone is convicted of maybe murder of the sort, and you knowing and understanding that it can be a death penalty or life behind, life in jail. What's your mentality like when you knowing that this person may never come home again?
Any time that I've heard that verdict, there's obviously an initial disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
And as a competitor, so initially it's that frustration with not getting the result you fought hard for when that has happened. But then your obligation is still to your client. And so, it's about interacting with client and dealing with that disappointment, but
Mm-hmm.
also immediately trying to talk about what's next. What can you do next? What's the process give you to challenge this further?
Mm-hmm.
And so my job doesn't end. My job is to communicate. My job is to have communications about, as disappointing as this is, there are still things you can do to attack that outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it's not a mandatory life sentence in the context of a murder case, the next step after maybe a disappointing verdict like that would be focus on getting the best sentence possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of work that can be done to greatly affect the sentence, and make sure my client understands that. Listen, if being disappointed with this verdict, there's going to be an opportunity to challenge that on an appeal, but let's get the most minimal sentence possible before you have to go to that next stage of the fight.
And being as though you have been so successful as a lawyer, is there any time like a certain? I know you don't want to, not saying any specific person, because it's a competitive edge when you go up against the DA. Do you feel like with your name that when the DA goes up against you, that it's a target on your back? Like he's looking to.
I think some of them be scared sometimes.
Or you just put that intimidation in.
Dave, you walk in them courtrooms and them new DAs and all that, but we got Dave and Mischak. Do it be like that in there though? And you feel, and I know you feel it like, oh yeah, I got this one today.
Well, listen, it's you always have to respect your opponent.
Yes.
Right.
So again, remember I said that not be judgmental. Always respect your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And know what you're dealing with in that respect. But it's. I can't worry about status and those kinds of things. It's always the focus when you step into the ring. You got an opponent, you got circumstances, and you got to be best prepared to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you can't worry. When a boxer goes into a ring, whether the boxer's undefeated or has a so-so records, lost the last 2 fights, right? You got to respect your opponent.
You got to,
and an undefeated fighter can't go in thinking, "Hey, just because I'm undefeated, I'm going to win this one too."
So you basically saying you don't take the cocky man.
I don't take that cocky man approach. And also, it's important, I think, to develop respectful relationships with other people.
But you do feel it though sometimes, Dave. You can't sit here and tell me when you walk in the joint, so you be like, "Oh yeah, the judge. Oh, how you doing, Mr. Beach?" You just know the whole playfield is. And I know you ain't gonna brag about it, but I know at times in your career, you're like, okay, yeah, they know who in here right now.
I'll repeat what I just said. No cockiness for me.
Okay.
Go in and respect your opponent.
Yep, I respect
You
that.
never see it. Look at the DA's eye, like a little bit of.
And he's starstruck. Dave Mischak right there over here.
Yeah, Dave plead the fifth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I look at this man like it's dealing with people's lives, but it's like it's on a deeper level. Like, dang, lives is at stake here. You got one man that's defending me, another man is trying to prosecute me, and it's like, dang, this is crazy. And this is with my life if I'm the defendant. And okay, granted, I got myself in this situation, so I can't really be boo-hooing like that, but it's like a game. It's like a game made a bet, man, with the lives of a lot of people.
Sure. Clients often feel that a prosecutor has something personal against them.
And it ain't that.
You're right, exactly right. I mean, a prosecutor, that's their job, and they have a job to do.
Exactly.
They're supposed to do it dispassionately, without those kind of prejudices. And with few exceptions, most prosecutors don't do that. And so I always try to communicate with my client, don't you engage in a personal thing.
Mm-hmm.
What's being coming at us is evidence.
Exactly.
How are we going to deal with that evidence?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then what's our defense? How are we going to attack that? How are we going to get to a successful result?
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing, as personal it is as for being the accused, of course it's personal. Can't get more personal than that. The government's accusing you of committing a crime. And then you see the prosecutor fighting to get that result because they believe in their evidence.
Exactly.
But you also so it's hardest as the accused to be dispassionate about how you defend a case.
Mm-hmm.
That's where your attorney comes into play.
Exactly.
Your attorney has to not get engaged. It's sometimes frustrating to deal with if and it happens infrequently. But when there's a prosecutor that's maybe being disrespectful in how they're treating me.
Mm-hmm. You ever lost it a little bit, Dave? You ever lost it in there? All the years you've been doing this, Dave. You ain't getting a verbal match like y'all going back. You and the prosecutor like, hold up.
I'm not old enough to be cranky yet. So no. Now listen, when I'm young, right, and I'm feeling it, but I learn quickly.
Right.
No, don't. It's because my client's outcome is what's at stake
here. Exactly.
So if I engage in a personal battle and that's not going to serve my client well, then I'm doing my client a disservice.
It's okay.
So It's you know it's the level of advocacy is designed for one outcome, and that's the best outcome for your client.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't adjust your advocacy for with that in mind, it's you're not doing your client the best job that you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I know you hear all this stuff about home care. Home care is dying, or home care is no longer what it was years ago, but it's coming back around. Don't forget, I'm telling you first, contact TNS Licensing and Consulting. Start your home care agency today. Right now, for just $999, you can start the process to get your home care agency up and running. That's $999. Contact TNS Licensing and Consulting to get you your LLC, your EIN, everything going in home care. Because the MCOs are coming back around. You don't want to miss out. Next year is going to be a big year for home care. Call now, 267-534-5053. That's 267-534-5053. Don't wait. I know you see this commercial. Call now. TNS Licensing and Consulting. They will start the process to get your home care agency off the ground. That's 267-534-5053 for only $999. Get the process started today. TNS Licensing and Consulting, 267-534-5053. TNS Licensing and Consulting. Call now. Get your home care agency started for only $999 right now.
And you know, I know you probably want to, you know, that's what I got to ask you. But you probably want to skip around if you know, I don't know. But is there any? I don't want to say it's. I don't want to say this right. I don't say it, but do you believe that there's like some sort of corruption within? Not it don't got to be with the judges or the DA, but within police officers and people of that have authority, a role in authority. A lot of times, you think some type of corruption there.
Well, listen,
sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes.
What I can say is I think I could understand why there's a perception of that sometimes. But what I can say is all my experiences with judges in Philadelphia, court systems in Philadelphia, in federal court, in other counties. I'm always most of the time I'm very satisfied with the professionalism, with the lack of corruption, and so I understand why there's that perception, because when that's learned, if something like that happens, you hear about corruption, or you hear about a bad egg somewhere, the reason why people get frustrated with that person that may be behind some corruption is because that casts a bad spell over everybody.
Yeah.
And so listen, anywhere, whether it's in my profession, or from a government agency, not everyone's perfect across the board.
Correct.
And it's the couple bad apples that make everybody look bad. And that's where people lose faith in our justice system sometimes, because of the acts of a few, forgetting that the acts of most are very above board or ethical, and are designed to a fair result. So it's hard to dispel, though, that frustration when you hear about an example of corruption.
Dave, the hell with here, but I'm quite sure you'd have had cops on stand that you was talking to and knew for a fact this dude is up here lying. And this is a law-abiding officer. And I'm a law-abiding citizen now. And I love the officers. I pay taxpayer dollars that go to the officers to help protect the communities. But I've been in the criminal activity before, and I have did things that got me convicted from my own hands. I was out of pocket. But I have been in there and seen a cop further lie to get the conviction that I'm already booked for. You might have caught me with drugs in my pocket. You don't have to lie and say this along with that to make this look good. And I'm quite sure you done seen that in there talking to, like, cops get on the stand. And they be up there, and I'm like, hey, I might whisper in your ear, he lying. He upright lying up there.
Well, and I'll tell you, so a police officer, just like anyone else, when they're on the witness stand, credibility is at issue.
Exactly.
And if that, and so,
because they lock up a lot of them every year, Dave, for being corrupt and all that. They takes down a bunch of cops in New York, Philadelphia, and you be like, dang, that officer got all them arrests, and he was, and then they got to let all the men go that got convicted from him.
Well, and we were talking about before. It's if there's that one bad apple,
Mm-hmm. Ruin the
that
rest
one
of
bad
it.
apple, then really makes people lose faith in the justice system because it affects a number of convictions that get overturned
Exactly.
when that's discovered. But when I handle a case, whether it's a police officer or someone with from a white collar background,
Exactly.
or someone who may have a checkered history, when they take the witness stand, put their hand on the Bible and swear to tell the truth, credibility now is the next step. And so when I need to, for my client, break down the best of my ability, the credibility of the testimony that's being presented, it doesn't matter what their background is, whether it's a police officer or anybody else, their credibility is at play.
Mm. And that's a real serious thing,
Man, real serious.
because you hear a lot of times we have heard where there have been certain cops that have been that have been arresting individuals for years, and then later on down the line they're found to be corrupt, which ultimately opens all these old cases back up because its credibility is now shot.
Right.
Have you ever experienced that or been a part of something like that?
Sure. I mean, that's happened, and then there's a look back into when that's been proven that there was someone in that position who's been dishonest. Any verdict or even if it was a guilty plea that source affected has to be reviewed.
Wow.
And now,
even if it was that's major. That's a lot of people want to hear that.
well, now
Even if you
now
took a
more than
guilty
ever,
plea.
you're starting to see prior convictions being reviewed when it's learned that there was some level of corruption. I'm not just talking about by a police officer, but by any
Exactly.
any step of the process where there was a wrongdoing.
But I want to go back a little bit just to hit on what you just said. Like, even if I took a guilty plea in this case and this cop was found to be years later corrupt, they could come back and revisit that case I'm on.
They could
and I
review those
admitted to it?
convictions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. See,
Yep.
yeah.
And
See, I
that's
didn't know
happened.
that.
And that has happened. And so, and think about that. It's
That's
because
crazy.
it's sometimes people plead guilty because that's what is in their best interest at that time. But
Exactly.
if it's rooted in something that was from a corrupted source,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't known at the time it was a corrupted source, and that affects a person's decision into whether they go to trial or plead guilty, that should be reviewed like anything else.
Right.
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 Because the reliability of that process is greatly affected.
Right.
Wow. Yeah,
That's crazy right there, man.
For
And
sure.
it makes all the sense. It's not crazy when the way Dave put it and it broke it down. Then it's not crazy no more.
Mm-hmm.
It's understandable. Like all right, yeah, that was the best thing for you, or I'm gonna plead guilty because I have no win. And then, but it's still got to be revisited.
Yeah, because sometimes the way I'm gonna cut you off, but sometimes the way that I'm just assuming that sometimes the way that the evidence is portrayed, as far as the testimony of the officer, what he's saying is, or the evidence that he may have accumulated from the case, sometimes it's overwhelming. Like, that, I can't beat this. It got me, even
So
though I'm innocent, but the evidence is stacked. And it's
Sure.
like, you might as well take this little probation, or you might as well take this 2 years instead of doing this 5 years, because so people
Sure.
are sometimes inclined to take a deal.
Absolutely, because you're making a decision at that moment as to what you think's best for you.
Mm-hmm.
And even if there's a belief that, what's coming at me isn't really on the up and up, you still have to make a decision in that moment. And so, listen, no one gains by a corrupt part of the process. Nobody. No one wants that. You think about, any judge wants to see that there was a result from a corrupt source. Of course not,
Not at
because
all.
that undermines everyone's belief in the system of justice. Even there's the hardworking police officers and law enforcement that do things the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing they want to hear about is someone that did something the wrong way,
Exactly.
and that makes them look bad. That that affects the trust and faith that people have in them and what they do on a daily basis. So no one gains.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it gets rooted out, that's very important to try the best you can to correct the wrongs
Exactly.
from the past.
Hey,
Wow.
Dave, let me ask you a question, right? Because I've been dealing with you for decades. We both have, and you got me vindicated. You got me, off a homicide that I didn't do. 2 of them actually. Me, Marcus, you remember my co-defendants at the time.
Yes.
And I remember how you used to come up on official visits, and that was what, 2001, 99, 2000. That's when I had you on. That's way back.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing the way that the county system, we're talking about the county jails, or the CFCF, PIC, House of Correction, DC, all of them on State Road, and how they operated, do you think it's like the way that, and a lot of people need to be in there. There's a lot of people out here committing crimes. They need to take their ass to jail for the crimes they did, and especially if they did them. But do you see like a change, like the where they're housing the people at getting worse or better? From back then, Dave, from 99, 98, when you was coming to see me then. Because I think it was better back then. Yeah. To compare what I just now caught this violation about 2 years ago. Going through that system again, then I'm like, wow. Sure. You do the official visits, I see you on the screen instead of actually seeing you in there. You can still come up if you want, but they made it easier by you calling on the tablet. Sure. But I liked it better when you come up like, yo, Dave here to see me. I'm going to see my lawyer today, y'all. Them say, but I feel as though but I'm asking you, like, because I'm quite sure you still travel up there when you got time and your schedule is a little light for you to go see some of your clients. Sure. Do you see it like the conditions where they're being housed harsher now from back then or the same?
From my perspective, it seems like it's more difficult now.
Yeah.
I go back to the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Couple things are at play. The restrictions had to be there for health reasons,
exactly.
Not just for the normal reasons that there's restrictions.
And they still ain't lifting restrictions now, even though we're out of that pandemic.
And I think in terms of that developed an employment problem for
the prison,
the prisons, and for
it's a bunch of women running them jails,
COs, and it was not as attractive a job to have.
Yeah.
So I mean, they and you've seen that affect the sheriff's office.
Okay.
And so when you have less employees working in the county prisons,
you're gonna have a muck.
It's going to be tighter restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be less ability to communicate with loved ones, with attorneys, and it's hard to come out of that quickly and effectively.
I'm quite sure you got some clients right now that be when you come see them, they be crying, please get me out of here, sure. Please, like, 'cause that's how I was. I ain't cry, but I was damn near there. Like, Dave, man, you see what I'm saying, man? I did it. Get me a deal, please, the best deal possible. I got to get out of. And I'm older. Maybe I'm like that because I'm older and I can't do it. And I don't think a younger man can do jail time. I'm not saying that, but me, I'm talking about me. Sure. Dave, every time you came up, you was a breath of fresh air to me. And it was like, Dave, I got to get out. I told you, I said, Dave, it ain't like it was. And not saying that jail's supposed to be cute and you sitting pretty, but the conditions of it is just like, it's like you lose all hope when you go in there. And the only thing that you got besides your family is your lawyer. Your lawyer is equivalent to your mother when you in prison, to me anyway.
And it seems to me, I always encourage clients that are in custody waiting the outcome of their case, do everything you can to better yourself.
But it ain't nothing to do in there.
That's my
especially
point.
In the county.
That's what I've,
you just in there around. It's like the scums of the earth. Like, it's bad in there.
I have clients that really want to do things, right?
Exactly.
Because first of all, it occupies time during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Something
exactly.
productive and constructive for you to best utilize your time. And if those opportunities aren't there, I can see why the frustrations has grown tenfold.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got to be aggravating. Because it probably slows time down, and it develops a sense of hopelessness in that circumstance.
Yes.
So yeah, I do notice that there's a frustration in waiting because you can't do as much to
and
better
them
yourself.
Homicides on the docket now that you be sitting there 3-4 years, man, waiting to go fight a homicide. Like, it's don't they got something called a speedy trial?
Sure, there's a speedy trial rule, and I'll tell you this: and I can speak about the counties around us, as well as in Philadelphia County. The court system has come out of a difficult time and has both in not only in criminal cases but even in the civil cases has developed efficient ways to shorten the duration of cases.
Okay.
And it's easy for me to say because maybe I'm not sitting on State Road waiting for my case to come around. But the courts have worked hard to come out of the pandemic and make things move more efficiently. And so hopefully that continues, and you'll see maybe less waiting periods. But during those waiting periods, it's got to be frustrating when you can't do things that maybe you used to be able to do 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Whether it's education,
Yeah, they don't got
working
none of that
jobs,
in there. None of that in there.
drug treatment. I know the resources probably aren't there to develop effective mental health treatment while in those settings. And I know people try, right? It's easy to be critical.
You can't even go to the law library now, Dave. Like, you got dudes in there that don't have the money to pay for you or another lawyer of your stature. They got to go with a court appointed. And the court appointed, I'm going to be honest, me, and I could be wrong. Man, they go in that courtroom with you, man, and just be sitting there. And some that do care, because I had a court appointed over in the feds, and Miss Martin, I think I told you about her as a lady, and she loved you to death. She like, oh, David Mischak. And she went there and got me a good for my violation.
Sure.
But them court appointeds, it's like, man, they just in there just to stand next to you to show that you got an attorney with you. They not in there fighting for you.
Not at all.
From my point of view, I'm not saying this is a fact, because I could be wrong. My point of view don't mean this is facts. This is just my point of view. But they just walking in there with you and like, all right, well, you could tapping you to say something. Well, I ain't supposed to be talking. You supposed to be talking for me. You know what I'm saying? But I see why a lot of dudes like lose hope, man. The county, that state road ain't no activities, like you said. There's a lot of people, like even me, that's dealing with mental issues that don't even know it. Right. Especially from sitting, like that's not sane or regular for a person to be sitting in confinement like that for years on end, years on years on end. I think if you do 5 years or better, you should get a check, a SSI check or something like that, because something is going on up there. You ever had a dog in a cage for a day and let it out and it just sprint as fast as it can? Same thing as a human.
Well said. If society wants people to come out of prison, and you should welcome them back, and you should give them the resources to be productive. And listen, the reality of it is, it's not popular to allocate resources for people that are either accused of crimes or convicted of crimes.
Right.
But it's not doing anybody any good by not paying attention to that.
Yeah.
And so it's I always give that advice to clients, and I could see the immediate frustration now is I wish I could do more.
Mm-hmm.
I wish and then what happens? You have a lot more idle time. What happens to idle time?
Slows up.
It slows up, and that's where you have more opportunity to make bad decisions.
Exactly.
Right. So when you're occupied, when you're busy, when you're doing things, that I'm sure speeds time up, but also is better for you in terms of your mental health, to your esteem, right? And then it's going to give you a better sense of confidence to address your case and not do so in as much of a frustrated mindset. I can't imagine having to face serious criminal charges and be frustrated in unnecessary ways in doing that, because those kinds of things affect your decision making.
Exactly.
And you want to make the best decisions when it comes down to how am I going to resolve my criminal case? How am I going to defend this?
Especially when your life is on the line.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So let's flip to this, Dave. And you're talking about, we'll say, cooperating witnesses, aka a rat, aka a snitch. We was in here the other day. Me and him was in here.
We was having a real live debate, Dave.
Yeah, we had a real. We said we was like, man.
Kev was in here with us too.
Yeah,
Trap Street Kev.
Yeah,
shout out
to Trap Street Kev. Yeah, he's like, Dave not representing no rats, right? So I'm like, you know what, Dave not, because I remember a situation,
That's
right?
What Kev said, yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. But I'm saying, so I remember a situation where, this was the Courtney Carter indictment.
That's the indictment.
That's an indictment that he was on, and they was looking to indict a lot of people, whatever. And we had a case, and me and him had a case together, and another person was on the case with us. And you told me, you said, basically they want to talk to you, they want to have a conversation with you. They reached out to you somehow, and you looked at me and you said, I know you're not going down there, but they want to talk to you. You said they might pick you up on the streets, but they want to talk to you. But I know you're not gonna go down there. For me, when you said that, I was like, yeah, Dave knows, like, people not gonna do any telling over here. But we were saying, like, Dave's not representing nobody who's snitching. Have you ever represented someone who testified on their
yes, he have, Dave. Yes, you have, Dave.
Well, as you know, I can't comment on such things.
Yeah.
Listen, at the end of the day, as an attorney, your ethical obligation is to present all opportunities to your client.
Right.
It's up to your client to make the decisions about how they best want to handle
Mm-hmm.
their situation. You could give advice. You could lay out all possible outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
But I have no right if someone in law enforcement shares with me that, hey, we'd like to speak with your client, or this might be in your client's best interest. Here's an opportunity. I can't be the one to say no.
Mm-hmm.
My ethical obligation is to make sure my client's aware of that option.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it's up to my client to do what's that he or she thinks is in their best interest.
Mm-hmm.
And then when my client makes that decision, I got to get the best possible outcome for them, no matter what. But that being said, it's it's interesting. One of the things that I'm experiencing, and anyone who's handling criminal cases now, is law enforcement is relying and putting their resources in and training law enforcement agents more so in using technology to prosecute crimes.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice and see now in a lot of the homicides or violent crimes that occur, whether it's in Philadelphia or elsewhere, the immediate response isn't what it used to be. Like, we got to find that eyewitness who's going to be able, because an eyewitness is subject to what, like we were talking about before. You take the witness stand, your credibility's in play,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the issue. And therefore it's a very vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
evidence to rely on sometimes, but is to go immediately to technology,
Mm.
the cameras,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Following you for blocks.
and cell phones,
That's the number one thing.
Catch you on that tower.
Pinging off the towers.
pinging off the towers, or what thumbs being used
Yeah,
to develop
exactly.
to send messages. And if you go into the homicide courtroom where they have the preliminary hearings, there's not as much that comes from the witness stand. It's usually pushing play and looking up at a large screen at the compilation of, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. There are hardworking detectives that respond to any crime of violence
Mhm.
and gathers this stuff, puts it together, and it's a movie in a courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm sitting back and watching the evidence being presented. We're all looking up at a
Yeah, we just
screen for an
experienced that.
hour.
Oh, we just
We just
experienced
experienced that.
that.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
it's harder to cross-examine the screen, right?
Yeah.
It's hard, yeah.
I can't cross-examine the screen. I can look at it like anyone else. But then, certainly there's testimony from the law enforcement agent as the foundation for that. But, what's sometimes the most powerful piece of evidence is something we're all watching together,
Mhm.
Together,
Yes.
as opposed to, wait, the witness, though, your credibility.
Yeah.
I just got, here's what I got, and I put it up here, So it's
It's
changed.
hard to get around that.
And it's sometimes harder to get around it. But that's, like I said before, as much as an attorney, you have to be aware of, the form you're in,
Mhm.
the jurisdiction that you're in. It's also important to understand the developments of how cases are being investigated and presented now,
Mm-hmm.
and developing strategies to deal with those changes. But what you see, it's less frequent now that I have a cooperating source on the stand to go after. Right, that used to be a lot more common back in the day.
Yeah, because like you said, we just experienced that, and I remember sitting down talking to you, and you like, basically what they're going to do is they're going to pause the screen right in front of the judge, and the judge is going to look at the screen and then look at you, and it makes
They
it
make a ruling.
it makes it really really
But it's a
difficult.
picture, but it's not wrong.
Well, that's the thing about it. So when the use of video technology is a large part of a case, and particularly to identification, that's where the developments in technology, the precision of some of this video now, not just the cameras that in Philadelphia, we have the police cameras. That's high definition. That's
Yeah.
sometimes
Mhm.
there's some clarity, and sometimes in those cases, law enforcement's able to manipulate the camera so that it can zoom in on things, and now you
Mhm.
have footage that's even more heightened. But to make the fact finder still has to determine, is that person on the screen the person sitting in the defendant's chair, right? And so the most common practice is to get usually an arrest photo or driver's license photo of your client, pause the video where there's the best view of the person committing the act on the video and putting the two together.
Mm.
And now either if it's at a preliminary hearing or a trial that's without a jury, a judge is the fact finder, or it's 12 people in the jury box. You know, I think jurors probably are more interested in cases where it's like they're watching a movie where it's coming on the video screen,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to, you know, relying on the vulnerable witness whose credibility is at play.
Yeah.
So what's happened is now law enforcement and prosecutors now sometimes have less of a need to get people to cooperate because they feel as they don't need to if they have a lot of evidence that comes from technology. And it's either, in more cases than not, from video evidence or from recovering a cell phone,
Mm-hmm.
getting a search warrant to search that phone, extracting that phone, where you can go to the day of the incident, find out where the device was, who they were communicating with, Google searches that may have been made just before that, and you know that's powerful evidence.
For
And
sure.
So, but what's important is to understand that and have someone who's accused understand that's the kind of evidence that's coming.
Mm.
The difficult question is then how best are we going to deal with it? What's our strategy? And that's my job as an attorney is to develop new and different strategies to help combat that kind of evidence.
Yeah, like, hey, listen, this is what they're gonna do. They're gonna pause this, and this is your picture. So you know, it's like, but I understand you have to come up with a strategy. Now, I just want to speak about something too. The term surprise witness, right? I'm pretty sure you may have been in situations where as though you may have had a client, and the surprise witness could have been their mother, their father, their brother, their sister. How devastating is that to an individual not knowing who the surprise witness, if that's even actually an actual fact of, you know, something that's presented in court?
Well, the surprise witness really isn't supposed to happen. There are limited exceptions.
Okay.
And you see that more times in federal prosecutions where, you know, the government asks the court to not have to divulge either the witness or the witness's prior testimony till shortly before they take the witness stand. Now, it can't be a surprise. Deal with it now. But, you know, as a defense attorney, you want that as far advanced as possible.
Exactly.
So you
Break
can
it down.
investigate, break it down, and be ready to attack.
Okay.
So it's less of it. Now, you know, sometimes it can be very difficult. I recently had a homicide case where the main witness was making identification from a video of his own son.
Wow.
Now, the video wasn't what a lot, you know, as precise as and high definition as that what we see now more often. But you also had to respect the fact that, you know, who would know better who that person is than their own father.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it, you know, listen, that was difficult. We ended up resolving the case very, very well, all said and done, and to my client's, you know, satisfaction. But I saw, you know, a family go through a very difficult time, and you know, I really felt for my client, you know, because I saw the you know, sense of hurt, you know.
His father in there.
Exactly. But, you know, we had to deal with it. And then we had to, you know, as I said before, I had to find a way to, you know, talk to my client in a dispassionate way, so that my client understood how that testimony could play in court. But all things worked out when all was said and done. But that's a very difficult situation. But that's
Remind me of the Queso case.
sure.
I'm quite sure you're familiar with that. Queso
Absolutely.
dad told on him. Got him life in prison.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, this your dad. It ain't no getting out of this.
That's
And he identified him on you. I knew that's my son. The same thing you said. The Queso dad just went in there and got his son life.
it's got to be very difficult for everybody involved.
For sure, because now the family's just torn.
Yeah.
It's like you telling them, it's like now it's just, and it could probably
It's
be
multiple-
never be repaired because this person is probably gonna be going for a long time, if not that.
No, but he
Their
got
entire life.
But Dave, like Dave said, he got satisfaction out the ending of the case.
Yeah.
So it probably some things that fell his way or whatever.
But even if he got 10, 15, 20 years from that,
Even 5.
that's what I'm saying. There's still gonna be some type of, you know, anger or some type of feelings or emotions that are gonna be tied to that. Whereas though people are not gonna like each other or
That's
have
all-
an issue.
And I'll tell you, that's the hardest thing I see sometimes is the impact of criminal prosecutions on. Now, listen, you know, I know victims' families, you know, have go through very difficult times.
For
but
sure.
What I see my clients' families. And, you know, you see a lot of broken hearts, a lot of worry, a lot of concern. Sometimes I'm the brunt of frustrations.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said before, I have to understand that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not get involved in personal things and understand it's a heartbroken family member that, you know, is just confused and frustrated to have a loved one go through a very difficult time.
Yeah.
And, you know, but I'll tell you, I also have met over my years of practice some incredible people, incredible family members that I've developed strong bonds with, and you know, because through those difficult times is sometimes where you develop bonds and you develop a great respect for individuals.
Mm-hmm.
I went through an experience. It was a long fight, but I represented individuals doing mandatory life sentence from a first-degree murder conviction back in. The second trials back in the mid '80s, and was very fortunate to start representing him during the pandemic. He was actually serving a mandatory federal life sentence in federal court. That he got relief from that, and now I came aboard to deal with what was a mandatory life sentence in the state court system, and we were working hard together, and I also needed some support, and his family was incredible. Family, his community, a lot of amazing individuals I had the pleasure of getting to know and meet. And when it came time to making a presentation to the district attorney's office in my advocacy for my client, the outpouring of support through character letters and so forth was just amazing. It was inspiring, and I was very happy that. He's now home.
Oh, he's home.
A couple days before Christmas, he's with his loved ones. And
that's good.
You know, and I'll tell you, the amazing individuals I had the pleasure to get to know, and to see the kind of support that people still have when they're serving life sentences. This is an individual, even though he was serving life sentences in 2 different jurisdictions, I'll tell you, worked very hard to be a positive impact on others. And over time, he did a lot of, first of all, started with educating himself, not only formally, but, you know, also with taking advantage of any opportunity he could, and using his influence and to have a positive impact on other people serving life sentences, other people that were getting ready to be paroled. I read firsthand account letters from not just those individuals that he helped, but employees of the penal system that commented on the thankfulness they had for what he did. And so, but then to have court hearings and meet the individuals that I did, and to see the kind of love and care and support is beyond words, the inspiration that provides. And so, you know, working hard on cases like that, over the years, it's really led to some great relationships that I've developed with people, and I'm very thankful and grateful for that.
In my opinion, this is my opinion. This is what I've experienced a lot of times, and from people. As a lawyer, you know that, in my opinion, if it's someone testifying and someone is found guilty, the person normally blames or is mad at the person who's testifying. And then secondly, the person that they're mad at, if they get convicted, is their lawyer. Sure. Well, my lawyer should have did this, and my lawyer didn't do that. I know you probably, yeah.
I've seen a lot of people do it, but like.
And you went in there and put your best foot forward, you know, and tried to, you know, get the best outcome possible. Sure. And I'm assuming you have dealt with that.
Of course.
How do you deal with those type of, you know, whispers of people saying these things about you, and knowing this, you know, that people are saying these things?
You have to have a thick skin.
Yeah.
But like anything else, you know, when you know, it's part of, you don't realize it at the time, but it is a part of what you sign up for.
Yeah.
And so listen, unless it's a great outcome, there's going to be frustration. And I understand that it's natural to say, well, my lawyer is either to blame or partly to blame. And you know, listen, you have to have thick skin when you have a frustrated client in that situation. But that's, you know, I'll go back to what I said before. If you develop a healthy level of communication, what builds from that is respect. I also have had clients that maybe were disappointed with a particular outcome, but were also thankful for what I did, you know, try to do for them, or the work I put in. Or maybe they didn't take my advice, went another route, and then they're like, yeah, I should have listened to your advice. You can't make it personal. I understand that, you know, I always love great outcomes, and I can't I love to have my client be very grateful for what I did for him at every single case. But listen, law of averages, sometimes that doesn't happen. But I always try to communicate with my client even after a difficult result in court, for example, and let them know I still care, and I'm here to give you the best advice moving forward, even if it's in a direction where you're going to, seek other counsel. But that's why you develop thick skin, and you realize that still it's the person that you're representing, it's their best interest, and then you move forward in the healthiest way that you can.
Everyone knows prison is a serious matter. Prison is oppression. But nothing's worse than going to prison and not knowing what to expect. Or coming home after being incarcerated for years and not knowing what to expect. We help you here at Tales from the Jails. We offer consultation for those who are going to prison, also those who are coming home from prison, and also we have different features and options for those who are in prison. If you're looking for consultation to assist you in these matters, contact us, talesfromthejail.com. That's talesfromthejail.com. Book your consultation today.
So, Dave, like what I want to say is, for you, going to trial or representing someone who's been accused of a crime, and people, like I said, they like to blame the lawyer or for them losing the case or whatever. You're coming into the actual case looking to win. You have to perform. You like Michael Jordan trying to win a championship.
Exactly.
When you're going in there competing, against the DA to kind of prove the innocence of your client. Of so, you said you got to have thick skin, but has it ever been a time that you may have gotten frustrated by something that someone may have said, even though you got it? Because we're human sometimes.
Sure. Well, listen, and that hits nail on the head. You are human, but when you, as you gain experience, and listen, early on, there's a lot of lessons learned, and so the most important thing to do is learn from those times where you may have made a decision like let someone get the best of you, sort of thing happen. As you move forward and you gain experience, just like in any other field or anything else you do in life, you learn how to manage that, and so and you also learn if there are frustrations, to put it next to you so you can finish doing your job. And then, you don't want to bottle it up, right? Because then at some point you explode. So you move it next to you, handle the case so you get the best outcome for your client, and do everything you can to win. And then you could deal with the thing that caused you frustration and resolve it when you're in a better headspace. So, but I'll tell you, with experience, it helps in dealing with any of those kinds of situations.
Yeah, and you have a great rapport, because I've heard a lot of people that when I mention your name or say David Mischak, because I always refer anyone that is going through any type of trial or tribulation with the criminal system.
Same here.
I'll tell them like David Mischak, and they be like, oh, I know Dave, and I'm like, well, if you knew Dave, why you But they be like, yeah.
Or they say Dave want that bag. They say you can't go to Dave unless you're correct. You don't go to him talking crazy there.
Yeah, go to it with your hat in your head.
No. Ain't got bills to pay now.
Don't we all?
For sure. And dealing with certain cases. I know you mentioned. Has it ever been a case that you turned down? Like you said, I'm going on.
Yeah, that's happened. Either because if I have to be honest with myself sometimes, and if I don't have adequate time to do my best job for them,
right,
either because of I have a trial schedule that's hectic at the moment, or there are other circumstances. As attorneys, sometimes we also have to be very cognizant of what can be a conflict. We were talking about a particular federal indictment not too long ago where a number of my clients were on that indictment. I couldn't represent anybody, all said and done, because I represented other individuals in that indictment. We always have to be cognizant of conflicts that we may have. So, because a conflict is when there's something that a relationship with someone or a pre-existing client that you have or something else that may conflict with your ability to do your best job for your client.
Exactly.
And you got to be honest about that.
Mhm.
I could say in the last 2 weeks, I had 2 cases that I was ready to jump in on, where there was the slightest of conflict, and I had to recognize that, be honest, and let my client know right away, or potential client know right away, and then pass it on to someone else. And you don't like to do that. You don't like to have someone have interest in you, in your representation,
Yeah.
and say, sorry, I can't. But you have to be honest. You have to understand all those things, because it's your client and your client's best interest towards the best outcome that is most important.
Yeah. It's his
More
life.
important
his
than
or
you
her
taking
life.
on a case and making mistakes. So, but so there have been a handful of times where I've had to turn down cases for a variety of those kinds of reasons. I'll tell you something else that I've worked hard to do over the years. I specialize in criminal cases, but I have had clients, I had family members, had other kinds of difficult legal situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be personal injury cases, medical malpractice cases, other kinds of legal conflicts, domestic cases, right? And we worked hard as a firm now to broaden what we do, so that we can, because to serve clients that we have.
Mhm.
So if I have a client representing a criminal case that says, look, a family member just had a bad accident, or was a victim of something, or was going through a difficult custody or divorce situation. We've grown our firm to have excellent attorneys that can handle cases that are personal injury or domestic related, or other kinds of civil conflicts. And now it's even feels better that I can offer our firm to better service my clients and their loved ones now.
Yeah, because it's just having these type of situations happen a lot of times. People just can become absorbed within an actual moment. Now, you've been in some really high profile cases, and what's the most, I'll say, in your opinion, if you can speak about it,
Sure.
the case that had, I'll say that, if I'm saying this right, the highest profile case that you've actually been a part of.
Well, I'll say the most recent high-profile trial that I had,
Mm-hmm.
because I've had a number of other high-profile cases recently where that got resolved in different ways, either by avoiding prosecution, convincing the government that this is not a criminal matter, or should not be a criminal matter, things of that nature. But I represented coming out of COVID, and it was one of the last trials where we had to wear masks, and that was a whole
Inside
different
the courtroom
experience.
and everything.
The jurors had masks. We all had masks. And it was representing a law enforcement officer who was charged with murder.
Mm.
The result was a conviction for voluntary manslaughter, and a sentence that was significantly below the guidelines. The Commonwealth appealed it. They weren't happy with that result. But that was the most recent high profile because of the attention that was given to the prosecutions of police officers being charged with
Exactly.
Mm.
And it was a very difficult case. I mean, it was a case that my client was a hardworking person, had an incredible family, was a caring father, and was devastated by the fact that there was a loss of life in the case.
Exactly.
And a lot of people misunderstood that. And obviously there was an individual, a citizen, that lost his life, and frustrated people behind that. And so, a case like that has a lot of forces outside of the courtroom, taking place. Naturally, what happens is a lot of people want to weigh in on the way things are going, and how things should be going. But as I said before, what you need to do is focus in. And you step into the ring, your focus is inside the ring. And you got to kind of tune those things out and do what you have to do for your client under those circumstances.
Yeah, that's just and then now I ask you a question. This police officer who was accused of the murder, was he out on bail, or was he still confined in the prison system?
He's not confined. No, it was there was a short period of confinement.
Okay,
but that's no longer the case.
Because I'm assuming, because once I know a lot of times people who have certain cases, who have been accused of certain crimes, they get treated, badly in these prison systems by the inmates.
Yes.
So I'm assuming
much so.
for a police officer
I've seen
being
it
in
for
there,
years on end.
Sure.
yeah, they get treated really harsh, and they're not probably by the actual guards, but the inmates is
But
like,
yeah, that's mainly more time out of cell that's where it's coming from.
mm-hmm.
Especially like if you are like a law enforcement agent or something like that, and you get locked up and you go in there, it's usually some type of criteria to where as though they have a institution for like law enforcement that get locked up. They won't put them in regular population with people they may have arrested before, with people they may have come across certain cases before, because it's detrimental to his health.
Yeah.
So they try to keep that.
I think
Like
I think
separated.
the institutions and even the court system, do their level best to try to keep the separations in place to the best of their ability.
Right.
I'm sure it's easier said than done.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because you can't put them in the lion's den with pork chop drawers on.
You better not. Lions Den with pork chop drawers on. That's how it goes.
Yeah, it's gonna be a difficult task. So, Dave, man, I want to say this to you. I want to thank you, man, for coming up on the podcast, man.
And I repeat that too, Dave. I love you. I love you. I can honestly say I love you.
Yeah.
Well, listen, the respect is right back to you both, and the love for you both. As I said before, to see anyone I've represented in the past and their family members succeed and do well, and develop a great and productive future for themselves is the most rewarding part of this business, and the relationships that you develop. And as I said before, I can't think of a better way to spend the last day of this year than with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of
that.
your success.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
And I see nothing but great things ahead for both of you.
For sure.
Moving forward. And
You've been knowing this since we was kids, Dave.
Yes, I
we
know.
grew up
I
together.
know.
I'm talking about decades.
Yeah.
we're getting gray hairs. You're not yet.
Not
Well,
yet.
maybe
Well, I
that's
had
why
to
he's-
shave it off.
maybe
So I
his
keep
hat's
the head on
covered.
that.
Maybe his
Yeah,
hat's
he bald the other day.
Yeah,
At least we got our hair.
That's why I keep a short haircut too. I got to hide the grays, but
Yeah, but
it's my pleasure, and please developing the good word. I know that your show has had a very positive impact on a lot of other individuals.
Yes.
for sure.
And that's immeasurable. That's needed. And so I say, keep up the good work.
Yeah, definitely
And,
will. It's only the beginning.
Absolutely. There'll be nothing great things ahead.
And Dave, if people might need some representation, how do they get in contact with you, Dave?
Yeah, and tell them who you are and who your law firm is. They need to know who are you. I'm quite sure when they watching this, they going, "Oh, that's Dave."
Yeah,
But, I mean, for the people that don't know that we got an audience.
Well,
just-
listen, I'm David Mischak, and it's I specialize in criminal cases, but as I said, my firm, McMonagle, Perry, McHugh, Mischak and Davis, we've expanded our practice. Now I have a very strong personal injury practice, domestic cases, and you name it, to service our clients. So please feel free to contact me at my firm. Go to our website and give me a call if you need.
What's
get
the
any
website,
resources.
Dave? What's the website?
Just go mpmpc.com
Okay.
and they can reach out to me and reach out to our firm. And
Okay.
I'd be very happy to listen and see if we can help you and help you with your situation.
Yeah, but don't come with your hat in your hand,
Don't come with your hat in your hand, you get turned away.
All right, well, Dave, thank you for coming in
Absolutely.
and chilling with us today, man. We got to
My
do this
pleasure.
again at some point. Anything else you want to say, Young, before you go?
Man, stay free, man. Stay out of jail. Always make it. It's a time in any instant that a person does in life, you get that one chance to think. 1 second. 1 second could either cause you to end your life or cause you to keep on living. 1 second. Just use that 1 second to think and stay free.
Yeah.
Well said.
And as we sitting in here, Braheem's PO is sitting in here as well, man. What's your PO name?
Oh man, that's Big Mike right there. That's
Shout
Big
out to Mike. Mike is in here
Yeah.
with the podcast as well. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. You know where to follow us at on all platforms at Tales from the Jails. Don't forget to become a member on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok. We're everywhere. Thank everybody for tuning in. It's Tales from the Jails. We out of here.